Testing, testing. All right. So it's like
Test, test. Test, test. Oh, wait. Okay.
From here. I've already done that. We pulled it up, but it's stuck. Yeah, this one.
Okay, test, test.
Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 20th ICC International Commercial Mediation Competition. Before we get started, I'd like to say a few thank yous. First and foremost, to our two wonderful teams that are seated up here ready to go for the day. On the side of requesting, we have University of New South Wales, and responding, National University of Singapore. And our wonderful mediator today is Andy Rogers. And our panel of judges seated before me, we have David Lutron, Joanna Campos Carvalho, Jody Sin, Rafaela Pileri, and Ido Klimberger. And I thought French pronunciation was hard. There's just a couple more thank yous to go. First and foremost, to my amazing team, my intern, Inan Wang, in the back there. And the mysterious woman who's currently handling catering, Asal Ibrahimpour. And last but not least, we have an amazing organizing committee that you have heard, you've seen throughout the week. Some of them are here today. We have Alia, and Ruslan. Two other members who are on it, but unfortunately unable to join us today, include Stephanie and Eva. They are our members. Thank you. And without further ado, let's begin. Over to you, Adnan.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 20th ICC Mediation Competition Grand Finale. As we've been introduced, the requesting team, University of New South Wales, versus the responding team, which is the National University of Singapore. We've already been introduced to the judges and the mediators. I'm just going to repeat the rules. And the rules are, well, the mediation session is going to be a full 85 minutes. Within the 85 minutes, there will be 5-minute caucuses, 5-minute cross caucuses, and 3-minute breaks. When you call these, the time is going to keep running, okay? Do you have any questions? Great, then I am going to start the time in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Just before we get started, if I could quickly make a note of everyone's names, if that's okay. So for Verdibio, you're the requesting party. And we have Robin as the Chief Executive. And can I just take your real name as well?
Yes, that's Lahara.
Lahar, okay. And your lawyer?
Hi, Andy. My name is Kyla.
Kyla. And then for the responding party, which is global, the Chief Executive is Alex, that's correct? And your real name?
Good morning. My name is Tian Ao, Tianao.
Okay.
Thank you.
And your lawyer?
Yep, so hi, my name is Mervyn, Mervyn. And sorry, I just want to take this opportunity to actually acknowledge the fact that I think this is an international mediation and we all come from different cultural backgrounds. So we might speak with an accent and we might speak a bit fast. So if at any point in time you need us to repeat anything, just let us know and we'll feel free to do so.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. So what I'm going to do in a minute is I'm going to invite people to start speaking, but before I do that, I just want to say a few things. The first is obviously to say it's a privilege to be here as your mediator. My role as a mediator is not to make a decision in this matter, but to facilitate you to have a meaningful negotiation. So you might be tempted to ask me my opinion, but I'm not going to give it to you, okay? In terms of the process, after I've finished this explanation, we will have the opening session where you'll both be asked to make an opening statement and you can say what you like. I would encourage you to talk about what's important to you and for everyone to say something if they would like to. Okay? And then after we've done that, I'll provide an opportunity for you to ask each other questions. And maybe, if you would like, we can work on an agenda of the things we think we need to talk about in order to potentially make a deal today. Okay? Then as we have done that, obviously it's up to you where you want to take the conversation. As you know, it's possible to take breaks or to call a private meeting with me. When that happens, you'll see there's doors either side down the steps. So you'll be invited to go through there for that meeting or that break, okay? So what else? Just to mention as well, while we are doing the break, if you're talking to me, everything you say is confidential, and confidentiality works in another way, because what we talk about here is protected, and therefore you can't reproduce what you learn from here in court, which gives you the freedom to explore different options. And I think that's the final thing I want to talk about, really, is that disputes are difficult, and so the conversation may at times be challenging, but what we have here is an opportunity to look for solutions, and as part of that, you will understandably want to talk about the past and what's happened in the past. And I think it's important that we do that to understand what that means, both for what's happened, but also what might happen in the future outside of this. But just to remind you that a possible solution probably lies in talking about the future and what you would like for the future in as much as is possible. Do you have any questions before I...
Alex, any questions?
Maybe just one quick point of clarification, Mr.
Yeah.
Mediator. I don't think I caught your name.
Oh, I beg your pardon? I'm Andy.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Andy.
Please feel free to call me Andy. I have never in my life asked anyone to call me Mr. Mediator, and I don't mind when they do, but most of my mediations people end up calling me Mr. Mediator. But I think Andy is quicker to say, okay? If there are no questions, what I will do is I will ask the requesting party to say something first, and then the responding party, okay? So over to you.
Thank you, Andy. And just before I begin, and as Andy has helpfully clarified, my name is Robin, and I am the CEO of Verde Bio Co. Please feel free to refer to me as Robin throughout this mediation, and you will also hear me refer to Verde Bio Co. as Verde Bio or Verde as well. I would also like to confirm that I do have full authority to make any decisions today. Alex, I am here because Verde Bio faces an existential threat, one that jeopardizes our survival, our livelihoods, and our commitment to sustainable forestry. This is not just a contractual dispute. It is a crisis with profound and irreversible consequences. If we do not fix this problem today, there may not be another chance. Andy, I'm not going to repeat the facts as set out in the brief sent by the parties to you, but I just need you to understand some context, and I apologise that this may be long, but this dispute is complex and very significant. Verde Bio is a small, family-run business that grew into a leader in sustainable forestry. The Verdanian government entrusted us with this exclusive, large-scale timber concession because of the trust that we have built for decades. That foundation is now at risk. In less than 6 months, our concession contract with the Verdanian government will end, and with it, the monitoring contract between us. There is a chance that we can renew the contract in July and avoid financial penalties if we can address the concerns contained in the audit. If we are not offered a renewed contract from the Verdanian government, we will lose a concession worth 150 million Verdanian dollars, and you will lose a contract worth 30 million Verdanian dollars. Losing this concession will result in us losing compliance certification, and there will be a domino effect on our international buyers. Alex, I hired you and Global because we trusted you to manage our risk. We are not here to shift blame, and we share some of the responsibility. We may have violated environmental regulations in areas not under Global's monitoring, and we will work hard to address this part of the audit. But what we will not do is bear the full burden when we engaged you specifically to mitigate our risks. Andy, when I received the audit report from the Verdanian government, my first call was to Alex. And Alex, instead of hearing from you, Robin, let's work this out together and resolve this, I was met with deflection. I was told, we have a 98% accuracy rate. It was outside of our zones. The auditor's data was biased. The audit was inaccurate. Not once, Alex, not once did you acknowledge the gravity of the situation and offer to stand beside us. Alex, you wouldn't be surprised if your competitors have been in touch with us suggesting that they can do a better job. Verde Bio's survival depends on robust environmental monitoring, and Global's reputation hinges on this and the success of its technology. We will show you later what a failure to find a solution today will mean for the both of us. But Alex, Kyla has advised me that there is no value in wasting the rest of the short time that we have today with me crying like a wounded bird and blaming you because we see another path. I see a future where we can address this audit report together, protect our companies, and preserve the opportunity to share in lucrative contracts and value in the future. I see a future where we don't just survive this crisis, but we emerge together stronger. It is important for us to address our damages claim, but that will be much easier for both of us, and I will be more likely to offer concessions if we can address the audit report and satisfy our stakeholders. The real threat here today, Alex, is walking away without a resolution. And if that happens, we will both be leaving with a massive hole in our businesses. Alex, I am inviting you to decide right now whether you will work together with us to help us fix the problems that arose from this audit report, or whether we are going to fight and destroy everything that we have both worked so hard to build over the years. Andy, Kyla works in-house with us, so she can give you an understanding of the losses and the risks that are at hand today.
Andy, Alex, Mervyn. My role today is to protect Verde Bio in mitigating the losses and risks that Robin has already outlined. Andy, we will need your help to make the most of the next 70 minutes by avoiding a discussion about the excuses and to unpack what is a very complex factual matrix. Robin will take ownership for any part that Verde Bio played that contributed to this shared problem. But if we have to spend our time arguing about who is right or wrong, the next 75 minutes will disappear really quickly, and we will be tempted to leave the mediation table and seek out other ways of our business surviving litigation and finding a new provider of the services that Global presently delivers for us. Robin isn't afraid of having the difficult conversations like you flagged, Andy, about the claim for damages. If we do get to that point, we will discuss what a fair outcome looks like. Before even thinking about Verde's damages, we have to deal first with the immediate consequences of the monitoring violations and the trust we've lost with our major stakeholders. Otherwise, the damages and any other long-term risks to our businesses will become an even bigger problem. I work inside Verde Bio. I know our company inside and out, so I can be very clear from the beginning about what is most important to Verde Bio. Andy, please note down our interests so that we can continue to refer to them throughout the mediation. First, it's restoring stakeholder confidence, which looks like ensuring the government, the regulators, and the public trust us. Second, it's minimizing financial loss, which looks like dealing with the short-term losses and ensuring the longer-term losses never come about. And finally, it's being a preferred sustainable timber extractor, which looks like our ability to get more work in the future. Mervyn, Robin is managing an existential threat to our company, and there is a risk that if we cannot reach a future where we can do this together, we will have to fight this out. However, Alex, Mervyn, the best use of our time today is to see if our two companies can explore solutions that minimize the immediate threats and avoid those that will eventuate if we don't. Andy, our interests tell you and Global very clearly the things that we want to discuss today, and we certainly want to have a structure around those, but we want to hear from Global first.
Okay, thank you. And moving to the responding party, Alex.
Good morning. Am I clear? Am I loud and clear? Thank you. And once again, thank you, Robin and Kyle, for coming down to this mediation session. I really appreciate your time being here. I understand that, as businessmen, it gets really busy sometimes. That's why I really appreciate your time here. And of course, thank you, Andy, for mediating this session. I think your explanation really gave us the confidence that we are able to reach a good solution today, a good resolution today, like what you mentioned. And from your opening statement, it does give me the confidence that we are here for transparent and open discussion. And this will definitely guide us through and make us land on the good resolution here. Robin, we both started as small businesses. We punched above our height. We grew as businesses to what we are today. We've come a really long way, and you are now the market leader in the timber extraction industry, and we are now the regional leader of forest conservation. Frankly, we could not have done this without you. Yeah. And our partnership really played a really crucial role in our business operation as well. At Global Wood, we pride ourselves for our reliability, the reliability of our products, as well as our reliability to our partners, like you, Robin. Therefore, it really came as a shock to me when I heard that there were allegedly, unauthorized logging in the protected forest. And it was even more shocking to me when, Robin, you said that we were responsible for this unauthorized logging. And you asked for the $10 million sum from us. I heard that you took our response as being deflective, and I just want to assure you that that was not my intention, and I do apologize if this hurt the trust between us. Andy, I want to just briefly explain myself in my response to that. Our stance here is that Global Wood has done all that was required for us, and we did all we could in monitoring the contracted areas. However, like what you said, we are here for an open discussion, and we want to learn more about what exactly happened. And I believe that this is the first step of us reaching a resolution on how to fix these problems. Robbie, I heard you. This situation is not looking great to both of us, actually. And it is a crisis, like what you said. I understand that this concession contract is really important to you. I understand that having this financial and trust concerns is really important to you and in the industry as well. I want to assure you again that we are here to help. Robin, I implore you to put yourself in my shoes as well, and which I see you did, that if this situation escalates, it won't just hurt Photo Bio, it will hurt us, hurt our reputation as a technology provider as well. Therefore, it is really in our both interest, in our shared interest, to fix these existing issues and to avoid this from happening again in the future. And to borrow your word, Robin, I'm here to stand by your side, and I'm here to emerge together stronger with you. That's enough said from me, and as pertains to the legality of things, I believe my very trusted counsel Mervyn is in the best position to share more about.
Thank you so much, Alex, for that opening statement, and as well as Robin and Kyla, am I right? Yes, thank you so much for making time to be here today for this important mediation session. And as well as Andy, thank you for being here. I think we will be tapping on your invaluable expertise throughout this discussion here today. Now, at this point, I'm the last to speak, and a lot has been said. So just give me some time to do 3 things. Firstly, outline our interests in coming to this table here today. Secondly, I would like to provide some legal context behind the situation, as is my role as the counsel. And lastly, I would like to propose a way forward for us to jump straight into the discussions. Now, in my time working with Alex, I've personally seen his commitment he has to all of his partners. And as Alex mentioned in his opening statements, continuing growth of this company he's worked to grow from, when it was a small firm, is something extremely important to him. And in order to achieve this growth, there are just 2 main things that he wants to achieve. And this can be summarized into 2 R's: reliability and reputation. In terms of reliability, he wants to be reliable to his stakeholders, those who have supported the building of this company. As such, any agreement that we reach here today has to be financially sound and account for these. Secondly, reliability to his clients like yourself, because this is something that Alex really holds dear to his heart, and clients do make the business, am I right? And then secondly, reputation. And you know, Robin, I think you do understand the importance of reputation, given that you've also made the difficult climb from small firm to industrial leader. And this is something that's also very important to Alex and Global Wood. And so that's why, it was so concerning when this claim first hit my desk. Now moving on to providing a bit more legal context, Andy, for the benefit of you, we just want to reiterate that there is a $10 million claim against Global Wood at this point in time. And as counsel, I have done my job to advise him on the merits and legalities of this case. I've advised him that he has operated within his contractual stipulations and there is no breach of contract here. But, I'm sure we all understand the difficulties it would take to bring this to arbitration, the timeline, the cost, and, this is not something new to us, given that we've been operating for quite a bit of time. But more importantly, right, Alex has mentioned that he does not want to go to arbitration, not because of these things, but because he wants to find a win-win solution for this partnership so that we can both not only split the pie, but get a new pie, right? And he really wants to build a successful partnership. But before we can build a successful partnership, we have to build a successful mediation. And that brings me to my third point, on how we can propose a way forward in this discussion. And Andy, I think you've mentioned the importance of looking at the past, understanding the past, to create a better future. And I would just like to build upon that, right? So a successful mediation for us includes 3 elements. CSR, quite apt for, I guess, this discussion. But what this means is, firstly, clarifications. We want to understand what has happened so far. This could be talking about the impacts of what has happened, as well as the timelines of what occurred, right? I think this is an important starting point for us to build off. Secondly, solutions. Here is where I think we can really talk about how we can address some of the things we've identified in the clarification stage. This could be talking about the sum of money. This could also be talking about any improvements, any measures we have to implement to potentially address the government, your stakeholders, and our stakeholders as well. And lastly, not to forget, is relationship. And here is something we do want to keep in mind, because I think, as you said, Robin and Kyla, that this partnership has a lot of potential for both of our partners, companies. And this is something we want to capitalize on and want to continue to grow. Now, I just want to reiterate, we are not here to find fault, right? This is not the place to do that. We are here to look for solutions so that once we walk away from this table, both our companies aren't in imminent distress. But instead, we are looking as to how we can continue to grow. Now, I think we've said a lot. Andy, I think I can pass the time back to you and, your input as to how we can continue the rest of the mediation.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that, and thank you to both of you for sharing what's important to you. I think that's a good and helpful start. In terms of how to proceed next, what would you like to do? Would you like to ask some questions of each other, or would you like me to do some work in terms of summarising the topics for discussion?
Thank you, Andy. It sounds like Mervyn has just suggested a way in which we can structure the rest of the discussion. So if I recall correctly, it was first clarifications, second solutions, and finally relationships. This is an agenda that does meet our interests, so we would be happy to start with talking about these items, and if possible, having them up on the whiteboard for us to continue to refer back to.
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
There's actually 2 whiteboards, so I can do it on both. so you can see it simultaneously, okay?
I think without wasting too much time, we're happy to just have it on one and we can pivot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think what's important is just there's some visual reference for us to look back to so that, you know, when we really get into the heat of the discussion, we remember to talk about all these points, right? And I don't know about you, Alex, I'm quite a visual learner myself, so this will definitely help.
Apologies for my writing, I hope that's visible. Do you want to add anything in there, or would it be helpful to introduce any subtopics, or maybe do that later?
We can do that later. I'm sure the parties would love to make the most of the next hour by getting straight into it.
Okay.
Thank you, Andy. I know that Alex wanted to clarify a few things to get us started, so I'll hand the mic to her.
Thank you, Kyla. Alex, I just need to, I guess, clarify. I really appreciated your apology about how you didn't mean to communicate with us in the way that our communications did turn out. But I just still wanted to clarify why we didn't engage in this conversation about fixing the problem and instead were faced with just reasons for why it's not your problem.
Thank you for the question. I think this agenda point is very helpful in reaching our resolution today. The reason why we are here to talk about what has happened, really like what Mervyn said earlier, we are not trying to find blame. We are not trying to see who is responsible for all the things that have happened. In fact, all we want to do is really to find out what are the areas of improvements that we can both do to better address the issues and to make sure that this do not happen again, which I heard that is of your interest as well.
Okay, and I hear you when you say that we're not here to play a blame game, because as I said from the offset, that's not what we're here to do either. And our priority today is to fix the problem at hand as well. So I guess I feel that our trust was broken. So I think in any solution that we come to today, I need some reassurance from you that if there is a problem in future, that we will work together to respond rather than figuring out who's at fault.
Of course, I'm definitely on board with solving any potential issues in the future. I think this definitely a right step in the right direction. And perhaps just to get us started in this clarification, to be honest, until now I'm still quite confused and quite lost about the audit, about what has actually happened. So if it may be possible, Robin, do you mind sharing more about the audit and what has exactly happened in the audit?
Of course. So as we all know, and as is in the brief that we did send Andy, there was an independent audit that occurred in June, commissioned by the Verdanian government, which did report discrepancies in our timber harvesting areas. Now, we have shared with you that there may have been areas where we did timber harvest in protected areas, which may have contributed to the problem we find ourselves in now. But this is knowledge that currently isn't privy to the auditors. And I want to share with you that from what I said earlier, we have an audit coming up in 6 months. So we do have an opportunity to fix any problems before this 6 months ends. And I guess I've acknowledged what we know about what we may have contributed to the problem. And I'd love to understand if you have any details on the audit and information on what may have happened on your end.
Yes, I think that's something we can definitely address. But before I think Alex talks about that, I just want to clarify a few things, right? Because now I hear there's 2 audits that we are currently talking about. There's one that has already been done, and there's one upcoming in 6 months that we are, in a way, trying to prepare for. So maybe let's just separate these 2 first. As for the first audit, what I'm hearing is that you are not entirely privy to the information as to what happened with the illegal logging. So could I just check, is there any certain information that the first audit has given you that might be useful to us to prepare for the second one?
The information we have is the same information you have, that there has been logging in protected areas. And I still want to understand whether there is any information from your end in respect to this, as we've shared what we possibly know and what we should keep in mind, as this audit timeline is quite a priority for us, and we want to make sure any problems that could be potentially there are known to all of us so we can resolve them.
Thank you, Robin. I think, like what you said, what you know is what we know about the audit, and we only found out of the audit from you. So I'm afraid that I don't have too much information to share right here, but I am definitely on board to address all the issues that has emerged from the last audit, so that we can better prepare ourselves for the audit that's coming up in 6 months' time. So, Andy, if I may propose, maybe what we can do here is to list out the items that we can improve on, that we found out from the last audit, and find ways to address this in preparation for the audit that's coming up in 6 months. Is this something that we can do?
Yes, it's fine with me, but Via Birdie, what do you think? Sorry, Virgie Bio, what do you think?
We would be happy to unpack the problem we need to fix today, but before we do so, we need to understand what is important to both parties. And for us, Alex would also really like to know what the impact is that this report has had on your business.
I'm willing to share in full transparency and openness, like to reach a good resolution today. Like what I said earlier, you are a very important partners to us. And all along, we have been pride ourselves with the reputation of being a reliable business provider, a service provider. Because of this, if this situation escalates, and of course you are aware that this has gone to the public and there are people protesting about it. If this escalates, this will no doubt harm our reputation as well. And that is why we are here. We are certain that we want to help you to achieve a win-win situation here and prevent this from happening again. Marvin, did I miss anything here?
No, I think that does sum up our interest quite accurately, coming from Alex. And at this point, maybe we could just ask the same question back to you, so we know exactly what we are working towards. So, we understand this audit has been difficult for you. Maybe you could let us know how this has affected you and how we can help improve things.
Of course, and just before I go into the impact that it has had on us, I really want to understand how important what the impact of this audit has been for you. So what I heard from you, Alex, is that you really value the relationship that you have with your partners. Is that right?
Definitely.
And this audit has essentially enabled trust to be broken with a key partner that you feel has contributed to the growth of your business as well. Is that right?
Yes, this has already gone to the public, and my worry is really if this escalates even more, this will be more damaging to our reputation. And perhaps I may ask you a better question. So, why is this important to you? Why is finding out the impact on our business important to you?
Of course, and I think it's because we're business partners, and we've always treated you as a business partner. That's why when we got this audit, you were the first person I called, Alex, because that is how we do business here at Verde. And I really want to unpack the importance to you, because you also highlighted that the public perception of you is also at risk here, and that reputation is important to you. So what I'm hearing is that any solution that we come to today must ensure that you are known as a reliable business partner and that your reputation is protected as well. Is that right?
Yes, that's a very apt summary of the interest, why we are coming here today. And maybe I can ask you a question back here. So I heard this idea of the new audit that's coming up in 6 months, and also this idea of renewing the concession contract. So correct me if I'm wrong here. So if the upcoming audit is perfect, there's no problem in it, you are able to secure the new concession contract. Am I right to say that?
Just before I answer that, I do want to address Mervin's question about the impact for us as well. And the impact for us has been quite substantial. The audit means a lot of things. The first is that it's an allegation that we have failed to abide by our high environmental standards, and that's something that we've prided ourselves on. So just like there's a reliability interest for you, that there's that same interest here for us. We want to be seen as a reliable and trusted provider. And the second is also the same as you, Alex, in the sense that this is something that the public will perceive, and we've seen activists already, the public outcry, and people poking holes in the way which we operate. So we want to minimise the risks there. And it's also been a risk to our financial viability. Now, we've already lost a lucrative contract here. We stand to lose the biggest contract that contributes to the most of our revenue, this concession contract as well. And we're a multinational business. We have engagement with international buyers, and we're risking losing them as well. So there's a lot for us to lose here from this audit. And to address your second question, I just want to clarify I got it right. You want to know more about this new audit and the concession contract as well. Could I just clarify exactly what you wanted me to talk about?
Yeah, I'm happy to do so. Andy, I think so far that we have clarified that none of us are here to point fingers at each other. None of us are here to blame each other for what has happened for the last audit. And this idea of reliability, reputation is important for both of us. And how I see it, and the way for us to address this idea of reliability and reputation is to make sure that this upcoming audit is going to be a perfect one, and there will be no problem involved in this. And I also heard your concern on financial interest, and this concession contract is your biggest contract from what I heard. So I just want to understand that if we are able to make this audit perfect, flawless, are you able to secure the concession contract which addresses your interest of financial aspects?
Yes, so if we can pass this audit, then we can maintain the certification, which will make us eligible for when the concession contract is renewed. So that's renewed on an annual basis based on our consistent abidement to the stringent laws that are in place. And Alex, you would know how stringent the laws here are in relation to the environment. So it's really important that we do secure the best possible audit outcome. And for me, it's also really important to understand, I've said this concession contract is really important to us. I also want to understand, has it been important for you too?
I mean, definitely, just to directly answer your question, we are partners, and of course, you succeeding is Alex succeeding. And that's what we want to work towards today. But now I'm gonna come in as a counsel and, do a bit more of my role here, right? Because I just want to understand, earlier, you've mentioned that you are flexible in the claim amount, if we were able to address some of your interests. Now we hear that these interests, I think Alex has helpfully summarized already, and you have helpfully shared, is that of the reputation, reliability to partners, as well as your finances in securing this contract. So if we were able to help you secure this contract, would you be willing to move this number, or would you be more flexible on the claim number?
Of course, if my interests are met, I'm willing to be flexible. And yeah, so as long as my reputational interests, my financial interests, and those interests in continuing to remain a reliable provider are met, I'm willing to consider what our future relationship can look like.
And I just want to take the time to check in with Andy, given we've spent about 15 minutes trying to build a foundation between the parties to then move on to understanding the problem we need to fix here. It sounds like we've been able to build up trust again and a sense of assurance to communicate in the future. So we want to check in with you and see how the parties are going and if we've missed anything.
Well, I think the conversation has been very constructive, and obviously you've talked a lot about impact and how it's affected you and shared your interests. There was a point where Global were asking about looking at what went wrong with the audit. One of the things it might be helpful to talk about, entirely up to you, would be to talk about what might be improved if you were to work together in relation to the next audit.
Yes, I think that's a fantastic idea. And actually, I think we do have an idea of how we could approach this discussion. Andy, maybe we could run this by you, and you can give us some of your thoughts on this, because structuring mediations is your expertise after all. So it seems to us that there are two things we should be looking at to reach the destination of a successful audit in the future. One is what we can learn from the past audits. This would be understanding some of the things we can improve on. Secondly, it would be talking about any conditions or specific things we have to hit to ensure the new audit is successful. This could be things from the government, could be things from, I guess, your certification board, and then combining these two things, we can try and develop a way we can move forward. So does this sound like a way we could approach this discussion?
Well, I'll ask Verdi Bio, what do you think?
Thank you, Andy. I guess for us, what we want to be able to do right now is, before we move on to addressing those issues, just check in with my client to see how they're finding how things are going.
Thank you, Kyla, and I can see we've made a lot of progress so far on really understanding each other. So I really want to finalise my understanding before we do move on, because I really want to unpack how we can approach this next audit, because again, it's 6 months away and that is our utmost priority as well. So what I'm seeing, Alex, is that it's important to you that in any solution we come to today, that your reputation is protected, that you remain a reliable provider, not only for your stakeholders, but also for your clients like us, and that you continue the growth of your company. Expansion and market perception is really important to you. And for us, very similar things are important here. We want to maintain a reputation as the go-to provider of timber, of our work, and we also want to be reliable as well. We want to be trusted in the industry as someone who does abide by these environmental standards, and we also want to continue growth for financial reasons as well. And now that I do, correct me if I'm wrong, understand the interests of both parties, I do see a future together where we can work together to meet these interests. And I think the first step in actually understanding what we can do to address the problems of the past, Alex, is for me to share with you the progress that Kyla and I have been making behind the scenes and we want to bring to this discussion. So, Alex, we have had confidential discussions with an international NGO which has offered to certify our operations as compliant with the highest of sustainability standards. However, this is only if we can show a commitment to improving your technology. So I'm sharing this as a preliminary idea, not an option, just so the parties can move with something solid and we can progress the discussions in this way. But essentially, we are open to co-investing in upgrading your monitoring system so that we can obtain this certification, because the certification is what will make us eligible for this concession contract, and that renewal is in 6 months. That's what's important to us.
Thank you so much, Robin, for that. I've heard a lot from you, and I really appreciate your input here. Primarily, I'm really excited for this idea about upgrading our system and making our technology more reliable. Like what I said, that's all I want to do. I want to make sure that my technology is the best, is the most reliable in the market, and I'm known for being that. So, but before we dive into the details of all this, maybe Mervyn, you can help me summarize what has been said so far.
Yeah, of course. I think this is a very promising route that would lead to the destination we want. So maybe we should just chart ahead, taking into account everything we've talked about so far, the interest, what we have to hit, and then set a path forward. So Andy, maybe just thinking out loud here, maybe we could use the other whiteboard to kind of set a path forward for the rest of the discussion. Would that be something that we could do?
Yes. Do you have any ideas in terms of what you would like to see there?
I think we just want to put two things on the board, right? Firstly, the idea of the interest of both parties. I think we've talked about it quite exhaustively, and we've arrived at two main ones, right? That being reliability and reputation, and finances, I guess. So that's three. These three will be, any agreement we reach today should have some aspect of hitting one of these three interests, right? So that's one thing I think we should put on the board for reference. The second thing is the idea of the structuring the discussion, right? So I think they seem to be all right, do correct me if I'm wrong, to talk about things that we could learn from the past audit and things we need to hit for the new audit. And I think they've elaborated a bit more on things we have to hit on the new audit, that being improvements to technology. We can put that under that. And eventually when we go back to learning from past audits, we can explore what we have to gain from there as well. So this is, I think, what we think the conversation could go. Maybe we could get your input as to whether this is a good idea, how you think it could be better, or any inputs.
Okay, thank you. Let me just ask Virgie Bio, what's your feeling on that?
Andy, that was quite a lot of information for us at this stage to structure the next bit of our discussion. Perhaps for us to bring value to this conversation, could we please have a private caucus with you at this time?
Yes.
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Okay, so 5 minutes, if you would like to just exit. Yeah.
So the University of New South Wales, the requesting party, has called for a caucus. We will leave the room now for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Andy, for your time. We called this caucus because at this stage, we feel that the parties have made significant progress in this mediation, and we've just been presented twice now with a direction for the rest of the discussion. Before that happens, we just wanted to be able to take stock at this time, and perhaps it would be helpful for Robin to give you a bit of insight into our strategy coming in.
Andy, our strategy coming into this mediation was to invite Global to join us in addressing the short-term impacts of the audit report, including losing our stakeholders' trust, so that we can mitigate the more catastrophic long-term losses.
Yeah.
And if we could do that, to signal a willingness to be fair in regard to our damages and even compromise, only if it meets our interests. And I feel, as Kyla has said, we have made a lot of headway in understanding one another and really getting to the heart of this problem, which is tackling the audit that's coming up so that we can ensure we secure the concession contract.
And so we want to take this time in this private caucus with you to ask you, from your perspective, what is it that we might have missed in the discussions with Global today, so that we can bring value when we come back to the rest of the mediation for the direction they want to take us in?
Well, to summarise what's been talked about in terms of what I was hearing, obviously, as I said previously, there's been a lot of discussion about impact and willingness to work together. Obviously, you were talking just now about the fact that you have an NGO who might be able to certify for you. I think that there was, in proposing a conversation from Global, they were talking about different things. They were talking about the audit and how to make improvements to the audit. It occurs to me that that discussion hasn't yet fully materialised, because obviously that's been shared by yourselves, but I didn't hear yet if there's anything that might be possible from them, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but that's just my reflection in terms of what I've heard so far.
Andy, correct me if I'm wrong. What I'm hearing from you is that maybe we have missed a part in understanding what they can bring to us being able to resolve this immediate order.
It would occur to me that that would be a logical next step to potentially ask that question, but I really don't want to direct you to do anything, because it's up to you to decide from your point of view how you want the conversation to go.
Yes, Andy, and we appreciate your consistent impartiality today. For us, I guess what we are getting lost in is the need to guide the rest of the discussion with agenda items. We just want to get straight into understanding how we can fix this problem. So for us, it would be very helpful for you to guide us there, to be able to make the use of the next 30 minutes, not spending time on writing up more agenda items, but for us to just hear their response to our confidential discussions with the international NGO, and perhaps what they can offer to be able to resolve this dispute. How does that sound to you?
I think that would provide me a bit more reassurance that they are committed to working with us to resolve this dispute. You know, we've worked hard to see what we can do before this mediation, so it may be helpful when we go back into that session to just understand how they feel about working together in that way, and whether there is anything that they can add value to as well.
So Andy, when we go back in, could you please make the space for Robin to ask them what value they can bring to fixing the problem that we have today, and just clarifying the problem itself before we get stuck into more agenda items.
Okay, so just to confirm, when they come back in, what we will do is I will say that we want to talk about possible solutions, and I'll invite you to say something. Thank you very much, and welcome back. So while you were out of the room, we were talking about how potential solutions might arise, and I think that there's possibly something Robin might want to say in terms of addressing that.
Thank you for creating this space, Andy and Alex. That time with Andy was really valuable just for us to take stock of the discussion we've had so far, so that we can really understand how to best provide value as we continue our discussions. And I think that the question I need to ask just before we move on is, I feel like I need to understand a bit more about the value that you can bring to this relationship and this problem we're now facing. And I feel like it's also important for maybe Kyla to really define what the problem we need to fix is.
And so before we are able to unpack the value you can provide, Mervyn, I know you noted before you're after what we need to do to improve the monitoring systems right now. And to remind everyone here, Robin had earlier revealed confidential discussions with an international NGO that can help us fix this problem. So right now we need to hear from you how that sounds, and as Robin has asked, what value you can bring to fixing this problem too.
I see. I'm excited to share more about this idea about new technology that are going to meet the requirement of the agreement with the NGO. I do have something very exciting to share, which is we are developing this new AI model, and which will address, it will improve on our existing AI systems. Before I share more about this, I just want to understand, first, is this something that you are interested in as well? And second, I'm a little bit wary about this upcoming 6-month audit that's coming in 6 months. Is time concern, is time issue one of the main concerns that we are facing here?
Alex, and we feel that same time concern as well. And do you know what's really alleviated is what you've just shared with me now, because as I said before, what we needed in order to unlock this certification was a commitment from you to improving your technology. And just hearing from you that you have in the works potentially a new AI model that can improve your technology, I think we're making really fast headway in approaching this 6-month deadline, because what we need to show is a commitment to improving our technology.
Sorry, so I just want to clarify. I think actually Alex is really excited to share this new AI technology and also possibly explore the idea of the joint co-investment that I think you've earlier raised. Before he gets to that, I just want to confirm with you that what your NGO is asking for right now is a commitment and not the actual AI being implemented by these 6 months. Am I right to say that?
Yes, so it's if we can show a commitment to improving our technology.
Okay, and I would assume a commitment just means some sort of action you take towards furthering this technology. So I think that's something that we can do. Alex, maybe at this point, you could share a bit more about this new AI technology that is really exciting.
Yeah. Thank you, Mervyn. Like what I said, this upcoming AI technology, I'm really, really excited about it. One of the main issues that all the AI systems are facing now in this industry is that they cannot detect through thick canopies. So if the trees are too tall and the leaves are too thick, they cannot go through it. And what this new AI system can do is precisely that. They can do that, and they will be, I believe, first in the market. Robin, although I'm excited about this project, the reality is I do need your help in this. Currently, this project, this new research and development is going to be quite costly. And before I go into the detailed sum, I just want to get an understanding, are you on board with this idea of co-investment in contributing to developing this AI technology?
Alex, as I said before, if our interests are met, why wouldn't we want to invest in technology which can help us meet our certification requirements? Our priority is getting that concession contract, and if in meeting our interests we can help improve your technology along the way, of course we would want to consider that.
And so at this stage, I guess, looking back at the fact that we have started to talk about solutions, the problem we need to define here is how we're able to meet that short-term immediate concern of the next audit being in 6 months and the concession contract expiring in those 6 months. So we appreciate the idea that's been put forward, but now we want to understand how is that going to meet our concern of that 6-month deadline.
Sorry, I just want to confirm at this point because I think I am a bit confused now. Earlier you mentioned that showing some sort of investment into this technology would be one of the factors it takes to renew this concession contract. So we're operating under the fact that this was. So can I just get a confirmation that this is one of the factors?
Yes, let me just clarify. What we mean is that, yes, we need to show a commitment. However, we also need to make sure that we, as soon as possible, can do what we need to do so that our reputation isn't tarnished any further. So it isn't that we won't be able to get this certification if it doesn't happen in 6 months, but we need to show that a commitment to doing so in order to get this certification, and that is what will unlock our eligibility.
And to also add to that, I know that we earlier shared the international NGO that we have been in confidential discussions with that can help us show evidence of our commitment to that 6-month deadline. So that is something we're also putting on the table, and perhaps Andy, I know we've both shared quite big ideas now, and perhaps you can note them down for us to refer back to later.
Yeah. I'll use your suggestion of the other flip charts. So in terms of solutions, I'm writing solutions and talking points because there's obviously things here that you're still fleshing out.
Right. Yep.
So we've got the NGO. We've got the co-investing. We've got the AI model. And we've got the timing of the 6 months, which I think I'm clear is critical for you. So there's the NGO, attached to that is the co-investing, attached to that is the new AI model, and then we've got the issue of timing to talk about as well.
And just before we continue, Alex, I did have a question in regard to, you shared that you won't be able to commit to this technology without us. So I really just want to understand a bit more about whether you have any financial limitations which we should be aware of, which may get in the way of us being able to really commit to this 6-month deadline.
Yeah, and I think Alex will really be happy to share that and get into the specifics of what this joint investment might look like. Before he gets into that, I just want to pick up on something Kyla mentioned about the importance of, I guess, meeting this 6 months. And the way I think we're seeing it now is that there's some short-term needs that we have to meet and some long-term needs that we want to work towards. So it seems that, for example, short-term is showing commitment to the project, long-term is implementing this project. Of course, depending on the discussion later. So maybe, under timing, Andy, we could just split it up into two. One is short-term measures that we could implement.
Okay.
And then second is long-term measures that we want to work towards.
Okay. So we've got the short-term and the long-term. And obviously one of the things I haven't put up here, I haven't put up here yet, which obviously belongs there, is reputation, because you both said that that's important to you as well. Yeah.
And that's definitely something, Andy, a concern for us to address, both in the short term and the long term, because right now we have these activists that are in the public outcry already, so I think we need to address these short-term concerns, and naturally our work now will give us long-term benefits. But I do really want to go back to the question I asked, and now I also have an additional question, but let's start with that financial question.
Yeah, so I heard this question was on the financial needs that we are facing regarding this implementing the
your ability to
of
commit.
the AI model. Like what I said earlier, this issue that is ongoing is a bit concerning, and we do need to have some money set aside to make sure that if anything happens, our business can operate as per usual. And this research on the new AI model will be costly. It will cost $10 million. And I really appreciate the transparency of the discussion so far. So let me just be clear here. What we can do is we can do a co-investment. So maybe 5 million from you, 5 million from us, and we can make this AI model happen. And I believe this serves both as a gesture that we are working together on a project, and also as a long-term solution, in the sense that when this AI model is fully developed, we are able to implement this and address the concerns that we have been facing so far. How does that sound to you?
That's an option, Alex, and I'm willing to consider it, and I'd love to hear all the ideas that we can bring to the table before I do commit to anything. And I also want to understand, with this technology, how long do you think it will take you to implement?
Well, unfortunately, research and development is a long process. I do not have a fixed number to give you right now. However, if you are on board with this, what I can propose now is once this research starts, we can have regular reports, and once this technology is fully developed, you'll be the first one to get it.
Of course. Thank you, Alex, and I just want to clarify everything I've heard now. So you have this new AI model available that can detect through thick canapes, which will, of course, expand the reach of your surveillance currently. And you have a financial need here, and that is $10 million, and you've helpfully raised the potential option of a 50-50 split of that. Okay, that's helpful for me to know. And I guess in going into what you said earlier, Mervyn, about actually understanding the problem we need to fix, and Kyla has helpfully highlighted that, it would be helpful for us to know whether post this audit we need to conduct any investigations as well in order to uncover what the actual problem is, because from what I've heard from you earlier in our discussion, we've shared what we know, but you don't really have much more information. Is that right?
Yeah, I think we were very transparent at the beginning as to what information we know from the audit. So I think right now it's quite exciting to see that we are working towards a way to kind of meet what this NGO kind of recommends, that you would need to renew this concession contract. So I think maybe we could just see whether this 50-50 split is something you'll be on board with. And if you are on board with this, we can iron out the details as to what this would look like, what deliverables might be needed for the NGO, or what targets we need to hit for the long term. So maybe we could get a bit of sensing of that.
Kyla, it would be helpful if you could maybe give your assistance on what you think is important here.
Well, I think there's been a lot that's been discussed, and so perhaps it'd be helpful if, Andy, you just make sure that we've captured everything here and talking about the last few talking points and solutions.
Okay, well, obviously everything that's been talked about is, no one's committed to anything, that we've just been raising possible solutions. Obviously what I did on the board was put down the NGO, the idea of co-investment, the new AI model, the timing. We talked about the short term, and there was discussion about the need to move quickly in terms of developing that, and then the longer term, and attached to the longer term is obviously relationship as well. In terms of where to go from here in terms of the discussion, I think, I don't know if it's helpful to work backwards in terms of talking about relationship and what you would like people to perceive in the future, and then see what could be put in place now to make that happen.
That's really helpful, Andy, and you flagging for us to look backward reminded me of something we mentioned very early on in the conversation that we don't want to lose sight of, is that this is a $10 million dispute at the moment, and so before we get into developing ideas in which we can change the narrative for the public and even more ideas about meeting our deadlines, we just want to briefly touch on this before moving on.
Yes, and I already shared with you that if we can meet our interests, I'm willing to be flexible. However, it is important, as Kyla flagged, to also take stock of the damage we have faced. Now, I've shared that we have lost a lucrative contract as a result of what has happened. We've faced reputational harm that I also know that you have faced as well, and that there's also potential future losses here at stake. So I guess it's important for us to keep that in mind and not lose sight of it whilst we are flexible to a discussion of what it may look like given what you've shared with us about your technology.
So I think we're definitely open to engaging in this conversation. Of course, this is very important and why we're at the table in the first place. So maybe before we start this discussion, Andy, I think we would like to have a private session with you before we jump right into this discussion.
Okay, thank you.
And
So the National University of Singapore responding party has called for a caucus. I would also like to let everyone know it's 15 minutes before we call time.
And sorry, just so that we can join back the session ready to go, maybe while you're outside, you could just, think about what are exactly the figures that you're looking for and what it would take to hit those figures. Just something to think about.
thank you. Right. Thank thank you, Eddie, for having us for this caucus.
Yep.
And to be honest, I'm really, really happy that we have landed on some sort of understanding that we want to be, resolving this issue. We want to make sure that this upcoming audit is a successful one,
Yep.
and we want to make our system better. I do understand that this idea of the sum is brought up, and of course, I'm happy to talk about it. I'm happy to address any interest, any concerns that they have right here. There's one slight worry that we have now, which is we haven't heard, decisively whether by having this joint investment, co-investment itself is sufficient to address, to make sure that the audit that's happening in 6 months is successful. So I believe there's this layer of uncertainty, and we do have something to share with you in this private session.
Yeah, but I think, before we go into sharing that, maybe we could get a sensing from you as to, what exactly do you think their main interests are with regards to this. We do hear this idea of this NGO, we do hear the idea of reputation being thrown around, but maybe you could get a sensing as to what exactly they're looking for here.
So, well, I can just tell you what I heard in the same way that you did was obviously they were talking and they talked about the importance of getting the renewal of the concession, and that in order to do this and to improve the likelihood of it, they need to put in place a structure, that the NGO is going to be an important part of that, and the improvement of technology is also a key part of that as well. So I think that what I heard is that it's all about improving their chances in terms of how successful that makes their chances. That's possibly a question that you might consider asking them, but obviously I don't want to tell you what you should be asking them.
Right. I think, Andy, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
We are here to increase the chances of this audit to be successful.
Yeah.
My concern here is really that we haven't heard about what exactly were the issues that were raised from the last audit. I understand that
Okay.
they were not too certain about it as well, but I guess the best way to make sure the next audit is successful is to make sure that the mistakes that were spotted in the last audit don't happen. But we are sensing some hesitation, or maybe they simply don't have the information about what exactly has transpired. So, of course, I don't want to be seen as pointing finger or blaming them. That's not my intention. I just want to know that you do have any suggestion or advice for how can we better make sure that we can learn from these past mistakes or past incidents.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's certainly a question you could put to them as well. So in terms of the time that we have, do you have anything else that you wish to address in terms of?
Yeah, so I think in the interest of trying to get the conversation flowing as soon as we come back, we have, I guess, 2 ideas that we want to run by you before we bring it up in the joint session.
Sure.
So we sense that there's 2 main interests that they have, right? First is the reputation. Secondly is this idea of accountability, reliability to the government.
Yes.
Right. So in order to address reputation, we do have several options. We have the option of co-branding for this new AI to kind of show that they have their name on sustainable technology. We are also open to doing a joint statement to show the public. I think that's one of the stakeholders we're talking about, that this was important to them. So that's one idea, right? To address reputation.
Sure.
To address the accountability, apart from just improving our technology, I think Alex was thinking about, looking into what exactly went wrong in the past and improving on that. From our end, one thing we have kind of talked about is this idea of information sharing, perhaps with regards to, past logging activity, things like ecological reports of the area. We're thinking that if they were to share this with us, we could implement this into the AI drones, right? And then this would be able to detect better.
Okay.
So these are 2 options, meeting 2 interests. Maybe we could get your sensing as to, which one you think is their priority right now, such that we can focus on in the joint session.
Well, I can't tell you what their priority will be. I could see potential interest in both. I think our meeting's now over.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. So let's pick up the conversation from where we left off.
Right. So just now during the session with Andy, we really had a very fruitful conversation, and we talked about what are some ways that we can better make sure that the audit that's happening in 6 months is going to be successful. However, I'm aware that before we go into the caucus, the idea of the sum was brought up, and I understand that this is really important to you. So let's talk about the sum for now, and maybe I can just hear more about the sum from you.
Of course, and just before I talk about the sum, Alex, I want to clarify that whilst Kyla has perfectly mentioned that we don't want to lose sight of the money, that doesn't mean we don't see the value that we can take from the future and bring here to resolve the issues of the past. So I'm not saying here that we just need to think of options about how you can give us money, because that's not going to be what's most fruitful here. But the money is important to us because we've faced a lot of damage. We've lost a lucrative contract. Our market perception has plummeted, and the reputation we have built over for years has been shattered, frankly. So it is important to us that we talk about it, but I just want to clarify for you that that doesn't change what I said about being flexible, because in the end, my priority is getting that concession contract. And as I said before, to get that concession contract, we need that certification.
Right, so from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, so what I'm hearing is if we are able to, get the concession contract secured, you will drop the claim about the amount, but of course we are willing to, help out with any sum that you need, any concerns that you have monetarily. Is that the correct understanding of this situation right here?
Yes, and I just want to clarify, I'm not asking you to make any commitment, but I do want to understand whether talking about options of money is also something that you are open to right now.
Yeah, I think we're definitely open to do it. So just to take stock of where we are, I think one option that's still on the table is the joint investment of the new AI to kind of show the NGO that you are investing in some sustainable technology. I understand that you want to talk about other things before you agree to that. And I understand that you do have other interests. So maybe, Alex, maybe this would be a good time for us to share some of our other options to perhaps assuage some of their concerns with, I guess, maybe with reputation.
And before that happens, just like Mervyn, you flagged about reputation, Andy, before Global took that private caucus, you flagged with us an important discussion to be had about changing the narrative with how the public should see both parties. And I don't want to lose sight of that. I think that's an important thing to discuss in now developing some options. And so, Alex, not to cut you off, please tell us more about these ideas for your reputational options. But I do want to flag, we don't have much time, so we unfortunately cannot evaluate them. They're just ideas. We haven't agreed to them until everything is agreed to. And Andy, we'd appreciate your help in avoiding the parties getting too stuck in any positions here and just exploring everything we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So I'll share more about this idea about what we can do to better address our shared concern about reputation. So I guess this idea of reputation is really, being heard and being seen. So since we are, discussing on this exciting program on the co-investment, we can also explore the possibility of a co-branding, in the sense that when this research is done, not only my name is going to be put on it, not my name, my company's name is going to be put on it, but your company's name will be put on it as well. Maybe, proudly brought by your company as well. Then you can have a label there. And this will really make the world see that you are dedicated in, building into better technology that can better solve the issue in sustainable timbering. I think this is something that we have in mind. I'm not sure if this addresses your interest of reputation as well.
And that's certainly an option, Alex, and I had a few more ideas here as well. And one of them was us potentially having some sort of joint statement which shows our commitment to environmental standards so that the public knows that that's one of our priorities. And another option I also had was perhaps to get our PR teams together to brainstorm other marketing tactics that we could use as well. And I know I'm flagging quite a few options in relation to reputation here, but Kyla and I were up all last night trying to think of some great ideas to bring to the table today. And
am I okay just to note these down?
Yeah, sure.
yes,
Okay.
yes, please go ahead, Andy. And we also had the idea of perhaps on our website having a live map of what areas we are actually working at, so that people can look at the work we're doing and know that we are committed to working in our zones.
Right. All these are very, very exciting ideas. I think I'm willing to explore all these. I think just to add on to this idea, since we are discussing this, co-investment already, we can put this in our joint statement. We can proudly announce to the world that we are doing this investment, and this is something that they can expect in the near future. And I think as regards to the detailed PR works, I think we can have more details printed out after this, and I'm happy to explore this. But is there any legalities that I should be concerned about this?
I mean, well, with regards to this, I think it's a very exciting idea. Of course, we don't have time to canvass the legalities now, but I think some things we do have to take note of is, for example, the idea of the live feed, I guess, of some of the systems we have. We need to understand how this is going to happen, whether or not you know any web designers that can incorporate this into your portal. We'd be happy to talk more about this, as well as the specifics of what the joint statement will look like, through what medium will it go through. I think, Kyla, this is something we can probably iron out after this session, or in the next mediation session. But I think I am cognizant of the time.
Yes, and just given the priority we also put on discussing any financial options as well, and you said that there was one of your options was to 50% co-invest in your technology, and given if you are able to commit to getting that technology done, an option here is also for us to reduce our settlement to 6 million Verdanian dollars. And another option here also, if that's still also a limitation, is for maybe Global to provide us with discounts in future for monitoring services and technology for the remainder of our contract.
And that's been super helpful for us to put some things onto the table. I know that, Mervyn, you and I are both aware of the 2 minutes left. So perhaps what we can do is use Andy's very helpful list on the whiteboard to take back into both of our respective offices and draft an email so that we can go back and forth about the particulars of what these options might actually look like. But let's save the evaluation for another mediation, and perhaps just check in with Andy at this point with 1.5 minutes left to go and see how you're feeling.
Sorry, Andy, before we pass the time to you, I just want to quickly try and run through some of the things that we have to achieve before the next mediation so that we can start it off on the right foot. You can jump in and let me know if there's anything we should add to this. So I think one thing is the details of this co-branding thing we have going on. I think we've held the idea of $6 million as the new amount. Of course, we can't give an answer now, but we will take a look at this and then see how we can work it into, I guess, the investment structure, the preferential pricing I think you've mentioned. These are things we can definitely look at. And on top of that, we can also prepare details to explore how we can improve on some of the things that were identified in the past audit. I think there wasn't a lot of information on that, but we can try and get as much as we can so we can discuss on other ways we can assure the government so you get the concession contract. So I think these are two main things that we have to work on. And I just want to pass the time back to you.
Well, I guess my reflection would be, in my experience of many mediations, is the hardest part might seem like it's getting to the deal, but it's actually the drafting, because that's when you are most tired and you have to spend you anticipate that the drafting, having done all this work, will take a couple of minutes, but actually you frequently don't get home until midnight, if that. So I acknowledge that there has been a lot of progress here. The tone has been very encouraging, and so I feel confident that with some more work we will certainly get to a satisfactory resolution.
Thank you very much, Andy. And we will call time on the session. A humble request, everyone remain seated. And let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you, and I'm now going to invite Boss to come on stage.
He's captain, I'm boss, apparently. So once again, thank you, everyone. What we're going to do now is we're going to begin scoring. So please, everyone stay in your seats. I'm going to ask judges, if you could please gather your things, and OC members, if you could please gather your things. You're going to follow Adnan to the scoring room, please. Okay, we're going to give them a 5-minute head start so they can get to their rooms without what will soon be a stampede out there. Okay, we are now going to take a brief break for the scoring. You are more than welcome to go back out and get some coffee, stretch your legs. Please bring any coffee cups or water bottles you brought in. Take them out with you, throw them away. We want to make sure that this room is clean after we use it. There is another group coming in after us. So thank you so much for taking care of that. And we will announce when the scores will be announced in just a few moments. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy, so much.
I really want to pay you as our if anything happens. Thank you again.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you so much. It was lovely. You were amazing. Well done.
Hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
You're
It was
welcome.
lovely meeting you.
You too.
Teams, we're going to ask that when you can go and breathe for a minute, but then we want you to come and sit right over here on the left. See that empty row there?
Yeah.
Just so we have you close by.
Okay.
Okay?
Perfect.
All right. And then we'll move forward with announcements.
We get everything off.
You
You're
take everything
welcome.
with you. Take everything off the stage with you, please. Okay, great.
Wow, actually, it's tough. Okay, I think our goal is to make it not clear. I think we made it out.
Actually, it's not very comfortable.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Could be better.
We say
Sorry, just before you run.
You're really
Finally, it's over.
I'm so good.
Yeah.
I have a lot.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
That's okay.
thank you so much.
Everybody? Thank you, everybody. Let's take our seats again, please. Thank you. Thank you for taking your seats, everyone. Thank you very much. Any minute now. Thank you. Great. Thank you very much, everybody. And now we will have Boss on stage with some announcements. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. It's wonderful to see everyone back in their seats. You all did that so well. We didn't have to chase you down or anything. Thank you. In just a few moments, we will be announcing the results of this final session. Before we do so, once again, we want to thank everyone for attending, not just during the prelims, but also for your support to the other teams throughout the rest of the competition. And if my memory serves me correctly, I saw quite a few of you dancing away the night last night as we celebrated the closing of the week. I hope you all had a great time. In addition to that, we just want to again say what a wonderful opportunity is for all of you to be with us here in person. So many countries represented, so many nationalities, languages spoken. And it couldn't be possible if we were simply online. There's something magical when we all come together here. So thank you for traveling. Thank you for doing all of the efforts it took to get yourselves here, and we hope you truly enjoyed the experience. In just a moment, we will be introducing Okay. I would now like to bring up Alex Vesas, who will lead us through the results of this competition. Welcome, Alex.
We almost had a continuity crisis after a very long and awkward silence. Good morning, everyone. It is customary, at least for the first 19 years, and I have not been here for all of them, given how young I am, that there are long thank yous, statistical numbers, and all of that is merited. But I would want to do, on this very special occasion where we celebrate the 20th milestone of this august competition, to actually take a moment to talk, before announcing, of course, the winners and handing out the well-deserved prizes, to talk about something else, to actually talk a little bit about mediation, but not the mediation necessarily of today. I would like to invite you to follow me for just a few minutes and look at mediation through the lens of the past. And my proposition today is that mediation is a sign of an advanced level of civilization, coexistence, and understanding of each other. And for lack of better reference, and I hope you'll excuse me for that, I will take my inspiration from the Greeks, for obvious reasons. Nearly 3,000 years ago, maybe just a little bit less, but let's, for the sake of what I'm saying today, let's assume it was 3,000 years ago. The Greeks started contemplating, or philosophizing, as we later started calling it, on the meaning of the divine and the meaning of the human, and trying to make sense of the world with the very little tools that man had back then, and understanding what God is, if anything at all, and what man and woman are, and what lies in between them, and then trying to make sense of what they consider to be that very fundamental relation in their time. And in doing so, it is, I think, quite incredible how mediation, or an earlier form of mediation, came to demonstrate how it could be a process or a vehicle, if you like, whereby man reasoned with the gods, or otherwise tried to reach a fair solution for the problems of other people. And I'll give you two examples that take us back to mythology. The first one comes from the trial in Athens that took place on the Acropolis long before it was ever built, between two gods and the then king of Athens Erechtheus, who was half man, half serpent. And the city was nameless at that time. The gods realized that it had a certain interesting real estate value. So Athena, the goddess of wisdom, and Poseidon, the god of the sea, were making pitches as to who should be the patron of the city. And Athena said, well, it's obvious, it has to be me, and you have to call it Athens. And Poseidon said, yeah, okay, you are close to the sea, that's my element, you need to call it, I don't know, Poseidonia or something. And they each offered, if you like, perks to the city. And it was up to the king of the city who had to navigate that rather difficult relationship between two gods, a man and a woman, two siblings, different mothers, an area full of conflict. Ultimately, he managed, of course, to convince Poseidon that Athens should not be his. But then Athens, because of Poseidon, became also a very mighty naval power. And it did so because of the gift that Athena gave to the Athenians, which was olives. Because olives sustain you, they're rich, a rich fruit, but they also grow to be very, very sturdy trees, which you can then use to build ships. And I'll come to ships in a minute. The second example comes from Homer's Iliad. In Rhapsody 18, when Homer tells us of how Themis, who was the mother of the demigod Achilles, went to the gods and asked them to create new armory so that her son could come out of retirement and go back to battling the Trojans, Homer gives us a very detailed description of the scenes depicted on the shield that the god Hephaestus created for Achilles for that occasion. And what's really interesting is that in one of the central bands of that shield, you have the depiction of a mediation. There is a mediator whom Homer calls Istor, which in Greek ultimately means he who knows, the knowledgeable one, who was mediating between an assassin and the relative of the deceased, the person who had been murdered by that assassin. And under ancient or mythological even Greek law of the time, the family of the deceased had the right of retribution. And Istor, the mediator, was called by the city because the city had already realized that that was probably not the most viable solution, to match bloodshed with even more bloodshed. And that is central on a shield which was meant to be carried in battle. So again, if you look at that symbolism of conflict and the peaceful resolution of conflict before it's too late, I think that says a lot. And of course, why am I sharing this with you today? Because it actually has a lot to do with trade as well. Let's go back to the Greeks and their ships. The moment they realized that there was land on the other side of the sea, they started sailing to get to know the peoples on the other side. Originally Asia Minor, then southern Italy, the southern coasts of France, and even the Iberian Peninsula. But what was interesting there is that their curiosity was not just satisfied by interacting with people to getting to know them, understanding their customs, and exchanging their own cultural experiences. They did something better. They started trading. And this is where I think we come full circle with many of the things that you have all been battling with or coping with over the past few weeks, or the past few days rather, or weeks. Trade is central to our understanding of how the world grows and how the world operates. And sometimes we tend to forget the lessons of history and the lessons of the past in trying to make sense of the world of today, which in many respects may not be optimal, but at least they're not as original as we sometimes think they are. And so I go back to my original proposition in concluding those remarks and thanking you for your attention. Mediation is a sign of an advanced society. our ability to understand how our neighbors and our faraway neighbors operate is an indication of excellence, an indication of being able to living together despite differences, and I think with an honest ability of trying to overcome differences peacefully. And if you want, again, to draw further conclusions from the actual historical past of the Greeks, and the Persians, and the Babylonians, and the Egyptians, and the Indians, and the Chinese, and so forth, you can read about it in history books. Pick up the history of the Peloponnesian War, for instance, and you'll see that city-states, before going to war, had to mediate. They would choose another neutral city-state to offer its good services in order to avoid the conflict. And so with that, please accept my thanks and the thanks of everyone at ICC for having participated here at the 20th edition of this mediation competition. Of course, I'm looking at all the students, some of whom actually have amazing dance moves. And of course, to all the professionals, the coaches, the judges, the timekeepers, the interns and the volunteers, and our sponsors, of course, who have made this happen. Now, I have to read this, apparently. Before we announce the results, I'd like to invite two of our judges to give some of their insight on the session which we just watched. So, Ido and Raffaella, if I can please ask you to join me.
Okay, is everybody breathing? Some of you have met me through the competition, and you know that when I give feedback, I take my jacket off to make it a little less formal. I don't think it's going to help anybody with the tension today, so I'll just get quickly through it. I find this competition is an amazing opportunity for me as a professional, and for everybody here, the students. This thing is amazing. So thank you everybody for this event. We want to give a couple of words of general feedback to the teams, maybe something that we can all learn from. I think one of the things that we try to do as mediators is we aspire to get the sides to look at the problem together instead of looking at each other as the problem. And I think the teams did that very, very well today. The teams were always aspiring to talk about what their options were, what their shared interests were, what they could do moving forward, and they also kept reminding themselves and each other what's waiting for them outside the room if they can't get to an agreement. So that's always a balance, right? You don't want to be too cooperative, you don't want to be too aggressive, you have to keep that balance. And for me, that balance was kept very well. There's another balance you have to keep in mediation, which is you want to put your interests forward. You want to make sure that you know what you want and the other side knows what you want. But you also have to make sure that you understand what's going on the other side. And one way to keep that balance, to maintain that balance, is to make sure you're asking as many questions as you are saying sentences, saying what you need. So if I would have to give the teams one tip, and I really think you all did very well, make sure you're constantly asking questions. This helps. It helps you to understand what's going on the other side, and it helps you realize what the way is forward, and it helps you to see what needs are common and what interests can be connected for some common interests and common solutions. For final words, I'm just going to say these are weird and difficult times in the world. For some of us, the effect is felt from a distance, and for some of us, we feel it quite directly. I'm very hopeful coming here to see this generation of people speaking the language of collaboration and really believing in what mediation can do for us as a race. And as the teams showed us, if you go into the details with courage and empathy, then you can really come to a place where we can see a better future for everybody. So thank you all for that.
Okay, thank you, Ido, for giving the great feedback to the students. I'm not giving feedback, if you don't mind, to the final, because both teams were great, astonishing, well-structured, flexible, ready to adapt, great communication style. So I think we all enjoyed the final session, and I think we can praise all of our students for being in the right path to a better civilization. Yeah, because that's what mediation is. And so my thing is that we have to think and learn every day from everybody, from students, from professionals, from assistants, from any people we encounter in our life, because mediation is a learning mindset compared to litigation. So if we go back to the ancient philosopher, I was just thinking about Aristotle, who's to be considered the father of communication, and he talks about ethos, pathos, and logos. And we think about these concepts into mediation. Ethos refers to the personalities. We can tell how much the mediation procedure changes the savor, the flavor, taking into account different personalities of the parties and of the mediator himself or herself. So keep this concept in your mind. And pathos means passion, but also dealing with emotions, dealing with our own emotions and other people's emotions as well, which is very important in a mediation and in negotiation sessions. And then logos. If the message we want to communicate is expressed, taking into account ethos, doing it with pathos, with passion, the logos would be the vehicle to transfer the right message and then have a better civilization. Thank you.
Thank you, Rafael and Ido, for your inspiring remarks. And now, without further ado, I would like first to call on stage the quarterfinalist team that had the best score, but unfortunately did not proceed to the semis, the University of Vienna. Well done, Vienna. Now, may I please call on stage the semi-finalists who did not make it to the final. And we start with the third place, the University of Sao Paulo. And if we can also have the fourth place, the University, Luis University from Italy. this is going well. And now, please help me welcoming back to the stage the finalist teams, the University of New South Wales and the University of Singapore. Welcome and congrats to both finalist teams. Sadly, there can only be one first place and only one winner. And the winner of the 20th ICC mediation competition is Singapore.
This is yours. This one. And also this. Oh, don't.
And may we please hear it for our runner-up, the University of New South Wales. Very well done to everyone. It's now almost 12:30, Saturday morning. The sun is up. Let's not jinx it. Please mark your calendars for the 21st competition, which will take place from the 2nd to the 7th of February, 2026. I said that right, thank God. It was lovely seeing you all, and very happy to be seeing you also outside before we say farewell. Have a great day.
We're going to ask judges, mediator, and the two finalists to stay in the room for photos. Please remember, everyone else, to gather your cups, any trash, any of your belongings, because once you leave, there is no coming back into this room. And then please, my colleagues Asal and Inan will be outside to help you and show you where the lovely after party is. Thank you so much. All right. Andy, stay with us.
Everybody in?
Okay.
Hold it up. And the trophy. Well done. Thank you so much. Oh. How was it? Well, you have no idea what happened. Yeah, we went through it. A blur. Oh, sorry. Okay. The team effort. Can we all hold it? Okay, we hold it. You hold it. Thank you. Who is this man? Hold the center. Come put your finger. No, I'm the center. I'm the center. Just the team first? Sure.
Each of them will have one. If you want to take.
Oh, sure.
There's no word to share. Congrats.
Yes.
So each one will take one. Each of your team members.
Oh.
Yes. So for all of you.
Is this okay? I hope you trust one. Yeah, I hope you trust one. This one? Gentle enough? Okay. It goes without saying, don't drop anything. Maybe you can hold the sword. Voila, it's you guys. You guys. I'll be holding the sword. Okay.
Nobody moves until I say so.
Okay.
You are 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you have 40 seconds.
All right. Any trouble you want? Okay. Okay. We'll just take it.
Thank you. Okay. Stay with my colleagues over here. I'm going to bring you back in 3 more photos.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I will give you each of them. It's not everyone. Everyone's house.
She was the Joy Road, the biggest company.